I think we have a problem in society today where everybody thinks they're the expert. I've never seen more 22-year-old, life coaches. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know how to wipe your own ass yet. Like, come on. But but I do feel like there is a rawness and authenticity that is necessary to effectively coaching men that are in the trenches.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney. I got Mr. Ryan James Miller in the house. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a good day.
I already think I know your answer to this, but it's my favorite question right now. Like, what are you currently obsessed with?
That's actually a dangerous question to ask somebody like me with an addictive personality.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see here. So my wife definitely is probably the thing I'm most obsessed with on a day in and day out basis. I should have said Jesus first, but that just ruined it all. But no, really, God has given me this vision for probably the last 5.5 years. It started in early 2020 to serve men, specifically equipping them to become all that God has created them to be. And then in the last year, that has become more clear. And then in the last month, this is going to sound wild. I think this is the first time I'm saying this publicly. So here you go. God gave me this wild number of 3 million. And so I am trying to make sense of what that all means. But I think my new obsession is impacting 3 million men to become all that God has created them to be, meaning that they are radically following Christ, they are exceptional husbands and fathers, and they're smashing it in the business world.
Yeah, I love that. And what's interesting, right, is there seems to be, not seems to be, there is, right? This kind of reframing of what seems to be the only thing that I talk about at this point, because everybody's kind of on the same page, is community, right?
Mhm.
And like actual leadership, servant leadership, all these items, right? Because somewhere along the way in the last, 20 to 30 years, we got lost, and then COVID accelerated that. I've gotten to a point now where I'm taking a lot more meetings in person if I
Mhm.
can. I'm doing most of my networking in person if I can. We've even, I mean, let's not get crazy. We've even started doing meetings on phone calls. Like, we're both walking, like just getting out from the screen, right? I love this.
Mhm.
It allows me to connect with people like you, but it feels like, one of the things, look, the CrossFit workouts that I started doing 8 weeks ago are very hard, right?
Mhm.
And it's not always easy to get up at 4 a.m. every morning. But to go do it with 30 other people and then
Yeah.
sauna and cold plunge afterwards is really a great way to start the day.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. I think everything you said is super accurate. One of the problems that I've had, so just give a quick background story. So in 2020, when I started to really feel this vision kind of stirring, which what I didn't know was I was going to be stepping down from pastoral ministry months after this vision started to be revealed. And when I was first given this vision, everybody was telling me, my own coach at the time, she was telling me, a couple of other people were like, you got to digitize yourself, go build a course. And I'd always hated that idea. I've been in this business of coaching and training since 2011. Everybody always said, go build courses, go build, just digitize. And I was like, okay, there's benefit to that. I don't want to slam it completely. But what happened during COVID was, that's what everybody did, was let's just accelerate learning online because we're all buried behind a screen. And so all of these men that were already ill-equipped for decades and decades to really deal with themselves and how to learn and grow were just had been told that they could do that on their own, and then were given the tools to isolate themselves even further to do all that. So you create this poor methodology around self-help, and then you compound that even further by saying, I want you to help yourself by yourself. And so it has created what I think is probably, I mean, I've only been alive 47 years, but even as you look back historically, I think we are probably in the most isolated place as a society we have ever been because of the just, hyperfixation on individualism, that is cultural, not just gender specific. So I just think all these things have created a really disastrous place for men to be. And I'm excited to see that there are guys that are trying to right that wrong. You're on mute.
Sorry, I said it's interesting, right? I'm 7 years sober in a couple months, and I didn't get
Mm,
sober in a group, right? But I started
yeah.
going to a group in March. And what's interesting, right? If you're going through something as a male, a lot of times, and I'll just speak to males, you feel like you're the only one. And then you go to this group and you go to lunch with these guys and you're going through something, whether it be business or personal, or, you're going through a divorce, whatever that be. And they look at you and they go, yeah, yeah, I've already been there, done that. Oh, and yeah, and it was like 9 times worse. And then you're like, okay, like you literally sit back and you go, okay, like I'm not alone. But it's amazing
Hmm.
how quick that thought goes directly to a man. They talk about it all the time. Don't isolate, don't isolate, don't isolate. Like just show up. And every time you show up, like it's like therapy, right? I'm not a huge fan of therapy. I do a certain type of therapy. I've been going to it for 3 months. Every time I go, this is going to be my last session. And then every time I'm done, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna sign up again. That's such a guy thing. Oh, I don't need this. And then every time you're like, oh, this is really great.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that I'm a thinker in extremes. I'm very black and white, and so that's super helpful at times, but it's also really dangerous. And so I don't want to say that time by ourselves in solitude is not helpful. I don't want to say that um, one-to-one environment is not helpful. Um, but I do see that the more that men are putting themselves into spaces with other like-minded individuals, and I don't mean necessarily like-minded and we think exactly alike, that we have a shared vision for what it means to be a good man in society today. When you put yourself in those environments, you start to be lifted up to that level. On top of that, and something that you said, whether it's in treatment or therapy, when you're in a group setting and you start to hear other people that have struggled with things similar to you, when you no longer feel all alone, when you no longer
Mm.
feel like the odd man out, and it's crazy because we know we're not all alone. We know we're not the only one, but there's something subconscious that is not broken until we're actually in that environment listening to somebody else. I mean, I wrote a book that published in 2023, and there's 9 significant wounds in my life, either things that were done to me or that I did. Um, there's a lot of stuff in there that you don't want people to know about you. Definitely my kids, who are now 23 and 16, two girls. Everybody said, like, why are you doing this? And I said, I said, I am going to be willing to go first. I want to put myself out there because I feel like if I am open enough, that other men will start to open up. And I've
Mm.
seen that time and time again, where I've had guys reach out to me and they're like, dude, I read your book. And that was the first time in my life that I felt like I had permission to go to my wife and talk to her about the things I'm struggling with, or to be open and honest with my best friend about, where I'm challenged. And so again, it's just like the more we step into that environment of community, I think the more that we start to realize that we're not all alone, that greater things are possible, and that we can get to those ends, achieve those goals when we're in community a lot faster than we can on our.
No, and one of the things I don't do much anymore, but when I did get sober and I would go to an event, I would introduce myself, former drug addict, former alcoholic, divorced, nice to meet you.
Mm,
And people are like, why do you introduce yourself that way? And I'm like, because I want to give other people the permission to share their story. And so
yeah.
it's like one the things that we keep hidden in the closet, wrapped up, own us. And the moment that you don't give it, like Eminem, you make fun of yourself. Like the moment that you don't, it just loses all of its power, right? One of the things
Yeah.
I love this guy on the Instagram. he said, you know, you can't manipulate the unwanted. He
Yeah.
was like, if I'm not engaging, then I cannot be manipulated because I just don't care. And it's amazing. One of my new things I say to people when they like rant and they give me like all the excuses and everything that's going on, and I'm like, yeah, and none of it matters. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Like like a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, like it just doesn't matter. And we spend so much time worried about all these different things. When at the end of the day, if we are doing things that we love, we're surrounded by people that push us, we're taking care of our body, and we're into our faith, then I guarantee you everything else is going to take care of itself in due time, right? It's super
Yeah,
simple.
so true. Dude, you said something earlier that I don't think a lot of people pick up on or may not pick up on, and something that was really powerful for me. So you said you introduced yourself as a former drug addict, a former,
Mhm.
and so almost 700 days ago, I decided to take a break from drinking. I didn't have an
Mhm.
alcohol problem. It was just I went out, had too much to drink one night, woke up in the morning, and just wasn't proud of who I was. So I was going to take a 90-day refresher and reset, and it's turned into 700 days, and we'll get to 1,000, and then we're going to reconsider and see what's going on. But my point in that was after I said that I was taking that 90-day break, a buddy of mine sent me this book called This Naked Mind, by a psychiatrist, I think is what she is. Her name is Annie Grace. Anyway, and a couple of things I loved in that book, a lot of things I loved in that book, but one of the primary things she said was one of the problems we have with addiction is that we live with that identity for the rest of our lives.
Yes.
You know, the very, like, again, I've never been to AA or NA, but have a lot of friends that have, and I've coached a lot of people that have. And, you know, you're kind of programmed to say, I am an alcoholic. And again, there is
Mhm.
that period of time when you're not free from it that you absolutely are, and you need to own that. But once you have stepped past that, and again, not to say you don't wrestle with that, struggle with that, are tempted by that, but you are no longer that person. And so, what I love about that language, and again, I think this is something that men specifically need to spend a lot more time with identity because, as you know, I know we've had a little bit of conversation previous to this, but like when you give your life to Jesus, your identity is now fully engulfed in and formed by Him. I am a Christian. It's like I all I am, all I ever will be is all wrapped up in that identity and nothing else. But when we are living in these identities, which again, men live with these identities of the mistakes that they have made on the negative side. I'm an addict. I'm an adulterer. I'm a whatever. Or even they live in the identities of all of the positive things that they have done, right? It's not just I am a entrepreneur, which that's my role. It's like I am a seven-figure entrepreneur. And they're not saying it from a role. They're saying it from like, this is how I want you to know me. And I think there's so many dangers that we live in or are exposed to when we live in that arena of, you know, claiming identity based upon the things that we have done. So I really appreciate that you said that, and I wish that more guys would spend time thinking about their identity and the things that they have assigned to themselves, positively or negatively.
Hmm. So there's a couple things from that, and then kind of in the teachings. One of the things that you can be is you can be a sober addict. So you can be sober, but it doesn't matter if your identity is still I'm an alcoholic, right?
Mm,
And then what a lot of the older guys will say is I'm a grateful alcoholic
mm,
because it got me here, right? And so I
mm.
have this is where I get in trouble a little bit. I have a big issue with certain aspects of recovery. And to each their own. But at some point, we have to move forward from the identity of what we created, right? And so I don't say I'm in recovery, I say I'm recovered.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
the moment that I went on a vacation and did not drink, I knew I would never drink again. That was my
Yeah.
Mount Everest. And so people were like, yeah, but you're around it. And I was like, yeah, I'm still a master bartender and I can still make you drinks. And I just don't care because it's not in existence to who I am anymore. It just does not resonate with me. I feel too good and I'm going to chase that, right? Well,
Yep.
that can be you can extrapolate that out, right? Because here's the problem, right? When I did get sober, I traded alcohol addiction for chaos addiction, right? And so we're so used to having our backs up against the wall, operating from a place of weakness or strength or survival, that that's the only way we know how to operate. So
Yeah, that's
when
right.
I help a lot of entrepreneurs, they're dealing in chaos addiction. And the moment that it gets good, they freak out. That's when they self
Wow.
sabotage. That's when they isolate, right? Because, oh my God, I can't be this happy. I can't be this healthy. This
Yeah.
is the only way I know how to operate. I'm in transition of that right now as well, personally. And I know a lot of my friends are too, of saying, life is really good. I'm happy. And now I'm nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many problems that come into play there. I think one of them is, and again, because you and I both have a litany of scars that we wear from all of the things that we have done, and so that means we're probably going to surround ourselves with a lot of those same people. Is I
Mm.
think that there's this mindset that the shoe will eventually drop. You know, it's like I've achieved all the success. I'm 7 years sober, but I'm an addict, and so it's gonna happen again. You know, or I cheated on my wife. By God's grace, she forgave me. All these years go by. I'm gonna do it again. I know I'm gonna do it again. And on one hand, one of my favorite hymns is "Come Thou Fount." And there's a line in there that says, "Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it, prone to leave the God I love." And I take that at face value, meaning I am 19 years removed from the mess I made of my life. Drinking too much, drugs, nearly slept with another woman, all of this stuff. I'm far from perfect, but I am 19 years removed for that. And yet I walk around Austin every single day thinking to myself, prone to wander. Because if I take my eye off the prize for a second, if I think for a minute that I have this life mastered, I will find myself back in the same spot I once was. And I think that that's that tension that we want to live in, which is like, I, I've overcome. I have recovered. I have grown. I have succeeded. And I do have my eyeballs forward. But at the same time, if I'm not careful, I'm going to find myself back in that same position. So it's such an interesting tension because it's like, I need to be aware of it, but I also don't want to fear the fact that like I can't enjoy this success. I can't be in this place in life because I'm just going to screw it up all over again. You know, so it's a really tough tension to live in. I mean, for you, it's got to be, you know, as far removed as you are from addiction, that's got to be somewhere rattling around in the back of your head at times. It's like, oh, this could happen.
Well, what's interesting, right, is through this IFS therapy, what I've realized, even as of last week, is that I thought the only way to remove myself from the terrible marriage I was in and the alcohol addiction and drug addiction that I was in is to become a different person,
Mm,
right? But what parts therapy teaches you is that you are never not all of your parts, no matter how far removed you are from them. So the only way to truly leave it is to love it, accept it, and heal it. And
mm,
so that's what I'm doing right now. Is I'm saying maybe that guy wasn't as bad as I thought he was, even though I hated him. And I
mm,
and I ran so far from who I was to just be anybody different. And I thought, oh, I created this different version, but he's still there.
mm,
And so what I've learned is that instead of being at war with every aspect of who I am, is to love them, see them, acknowledge them, and that way they become whole inside of me. And
mm,
so a lot of what I do with my clients is everything is external. We're trying to bring it internal. And that way you become the palm tree, and the palm tree doesn't break in the storm. The palm tree is not even affected by the storm. And that way it doesn't matter what situation or thing that you're dropped into. We're rebuilding the identity of who you believe to be. Because one of the things that I'm living in right now, and I haven't shared this yet, is the last 6 months have been really crazy for me, just on many different levels. But moving from a prince energy to a king energy of a sovereign kind of understanding of like who I am in my faith, in my health, in what I will tolerate, what I will not tolerate, what I say no to, what my energy spin on. You know, I have always been available for everybody, like, because I want to help. But I can only help you if you're willing to meet me halfway. I'm not going to drag you around. And
mm,
so, what's interesting is I'm putting life above business, I'm putting faith above business, and I'm just kind of serving with my heart. And it's amazing the doors that are opening up for, but also just the overall peace that's in my life. I'm not really
mm,
like angry anymore. Like all these things that I dealt with, because what's interesting, right, is I'm actually doing the opposite. I feel like we just have so much crap in our life. Like it's like pre workout and all like energy drinks and just all this crap. And I'm like, so I just I actually find joy in like removing all of it. Like, what do I
mm.
need to survive? I
Yeah,
need
that's
good
right.
food. water, workout every day, and then good conversations. Like that's it.
Yeah. Dude, you, you said something. I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a second, so just forgive me. But I think this is so awesome. So what you described is so deeply biblical when you said the old me will always be there. So just really quick, going back to the very beginning of time. So God creates. I'll just kind of like speed through this, but God creates Eden, and then He puts Adam and Eve into the Garden of Eden. And by Adam's sin, Eve's sin, Adam sins. Through that sin, right? Sin enters the world, and it starts to deteriorate everything God created as perfect. So there's a lot of people that believe, Christians that believe that when we die, Christ returns, that somehow we're going to be taken away to another place. I firmly believe, and I believe the Bible is very clear to support this, that God is going to restore what was once perfect, meaning heaven is going to eventually be, it's not now. Heaven will eventually be back here on earth. God will restore the Garden of Eden globally. On top of that, the sin that entered our body and destroyed us and deteriorates us is one day going to restore us to the perfect version of ourselves. And so instead of thinking that we are escaping from all these things, we can actually see and believe that God is going to restore all things to new. It's like taking a incredible, I don't know, 1965 Mustang or something like that. And it's like when it was brand new, it was bomb. Everybody loved it. You found it in the junkyard. It's rust bucket. There's no motor in there. And it's like, man, I'm going to put it all back to original because that's the best way that it could be. And that is what's coming. And so what I love about that is it's like, yes, as you're rebuilding and restoring yourself, you are trying to remove the cancer. You are trying to remove the sinful pieces of you that got you into that mess in the first place. But it's like, I'm not trying to destroy myself. I'm not like, I am who I am. And for me personally, a guy recently read my book. He's an owner of a local restaurant. And he goes, dude, he goes, that was crazy. He's about 20 years older than me. And then he brought up one story in there that very few people bring up. Quickly, I dated a girl, the girl that I lost my virginity to my junior year of high school. She ends up getting pregnant, not by me, but that the father of that child abandons her. I thought I loved her at that time. And so I stepped into that role as father. And I was there for her entire pregnancy, labor, delivery. My name is on that child's birth certificate to this day. I initially was paying her, pennies of child support because I was a kid. I took care of that child every other weekend for 2.5 years until finally the mom said, we can't play this game anymore. You're out. And he said, man, I was so impressed with that story. And I said, you know what I love about you bringing that up is I said, that was in the midst of a season of life that I was getting into fights, that I was really getting deep into alcohol and drugs. And I was doing a lot of bad stuff. I was not super respectful of women all the time. And yet there was this glimpse of good in me. And I think, again, that's that picture of like, even when we were at our worst, there were these incredible glimpses of good to show us what was possible in us. And I think that's the stuff we take as we continue to learn and grow and evolve into who God has ultimately created us to be.
Mm. And what started that story so resonates with me, because what started this with me was I was talking to a guy I used to work with a long time ago who wound up being a client a couple years ago. And I was like, yeah, he's like, man, you're doing great now. I was like, yeah, man, I hated that guy. And he was like, hey, man, that guy was really nice to me. He was like, you might have not been happy with you, but he's like, he was always above and beyond a great human to me. And so it's like, okay, maybe I don't have to kill every moment, right, in that kind of like journey, right? Because it was part of the thing. One of the things that they talk about in my sober group, and it's kind of been rattling around in my head the last couple of weeks, is like, was God there when you were doing drugs? Was God there when you were boozing? Yeah, he was. He was watching the whole time, and he knew this was part of the journey, right? And so the first time I spoke on stage ever was at a federal penitentiary, right? And so if you want to go double black diamond speaking, talk to 70 inmates in a prison. By the way, I don't plan anything. I kind of just go off the cuff. So I'm hyperventilating with like people who have done like 40 speeches. So I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, well, I'm just going to share my story. So I started sharing some crazy stuff that happened. They were dying laughing, but I was like, I didn't know if it was good. like all these things, and like I get done, and like here I am surrounded by like six, 6'5", inmates with teardrops, and I was like, I don't know, was it good? And they like all hugged me and they're like crying, and like it was just like this like amazing experience, and like yes, like I don't condone anything they did, but like you could see in the moment that they were
Mhm.
changed. And like we went into their cell block and they were talking about like getting out, and this guy was like, he was the slickest dude I've ever met. He was like one of the leading like gang members for like selling drugs on the West Coast. And I was like, dude, if you find the right owner, I was like, and you're truly changed. I was like, you can go get a sales job making millions of. He's like, nobody will hire me. I'm like, dude, you have skills. Maybe
Mm.
they were put in the wrong part, but I was like, I study salespeople for a living. You got it, man. And I just told him, I was like, just don't give up on this dream. Like, because I realized that like if you were the reason that you got here, then you're the reason that you can get out. And
Yeah.
so my new mantra right now is whatever patterns that you have in life, let's just try a new one, because those patterns got you here. So if you're not happy with where you are, or a relationship keeps failing, or you keep having trouble with your wife or your spouse or your business partner, like maybe say, what pattern do I need to change? And let's just try on something new. And I promise you, you'll start noticing they'll change to you. And like what people, and one of the most telling things, and my mom just told me this on Friday, she said that in the last 6 months that your voice has changed. She said, I can hear it in your voice, how much you've shed like so much of like old you. And I was like, and that's like six people have told me that. So that was like crazy to hear that. So, everybody that's in it, right? If you're stuck, right? Like just try something new, a new pattern, smile when you want to be angry. Like it's not as easy as that, but just try something new.
This is also why I love guys like you doing what you're doing because, it's cool to hear about the guy that built the nine-figure business and 45 years ago he was addicted to crack and, he's overcome it all and he's winning in life now. And there's some aspiration there, but or inspiration. But I think the problem is it's too detached from reality.
Mm,
Even if they can recount it really well, it's really hard for like at some point, as fired up as you get me, at some point I'm like, dude, but you're way out there, I'm in it. Whereas you are in it, right? I mean, you're 7 years removed from addiction, but you're still in it, in the processing and uncovering who you are and what God's doing in your life and how that applies to you. And you're having family members, your own mom that's like, dude, you're different. And so as you are experientially transforming, that is the best time to bring other people along with you.
mm,
And I think that again, like, I think we have a problem in society today where everybody thinks they're the expert. I've never seen more 22-year-old, life coaches. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know how to wipe your own ass yet. Like, come on, but, but I do feel like there is a rawness and authenticity that is necessary to effectively coaching men that are in the trenches. And so that's why it's like you go into the prison, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground, and yet you just share your life. And they're like, dude, I'm you. I'm
yeah.
just a little bit behind. And when you can give them that hope to say, like, dude, I don't have it all figured out. I'm just a little bit ahead of where you're going. They see possibility in ways that they just don't see when the chasm is so big. And
Yeah.
so that's I freak a lot of people out because I'm super transparent and public about my life on
Hmm.
social media. And so I mean, I love my wife. I've got an incredible marriage of 24 years. My family we're really close, my wife and kids and I. And so I share all that great stuff, the fun things we do. When I have a bad day, I talk about it. I'm like, man, I'm just having a bad day. Satan's got me, whatever. Dude, the messages that I get, text messages or DMs, first of all, it's very kind, but people are like, oh my gosh, is everything okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like, I appreciate you, but I'm not jumping off a building. But I think, again, that's very telling of like, people are not seeing enough. Again, we know we're not the only one, but there is this false sense of reality that I'm the only one. And so then when I see somebody else publicly communicating that they're struggling, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what the hell's going on? It must be so bad. And it's like, no, 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 that's life.
So, I mean, dude, spot on. So I'm dating again, and for the first time in 20 years, and
Wow.
meeting these said one of them said something to me, and they said, I want to see all sides of you, not just the good, and then I want to know who you are at your worst. And I was like, okay, we've entered a new realm of emotional intelligence here. uh but it's like, that's a very like heavy question, because then I started thinking about like, who am I at my lowest? And that is an opportunity for growth, but it's also an opportunity for people to um, share, who they are and be supported, even at their bottom, right? And that's one of the things I love about the men's groups that I'm a part of. Is like, I went to one a couple weeks ago, and all these guys are like, I mean, you meet them and they're like the happiest people in the world, and they sit down and go, "Oh yeah, I'm going through these 9 things," and you're like, "What?" Like, you would never know, and they only felt comfortable because it was a group of 5 guys at somebody's house. But I've literally hung around them for 2 months, and you would never know.
Yeah.
And so, that is where you have an opportunity to really like get it off your chest, and
Yeah.
kind of share. And you and I do the same. I lead from vulnerability, but I also lead from the front. One of the things I view myself on is I've tried all the therapy, I've read all the books, because I view my job as a coach to walk through the fiery door beforehand so I can lead the way for the
Mhm.
people behind me. That's the way I view my
Yeah.
coaching. So I don't have any fear when I step into something new. I literally told myself 6 months ago, I want to spend the next 3 years being as uncomfortable as possible. That's my goal. Right.
So good.
And that gives me an opportunity to be curious, which is all I really care about, into different understanding. Right. But so if people want to track down your community, they want to reach out to you, they want to find you, how would they do that?
So, um, I have a under construction website at the moment, which is always an awesome thing to say when you're on a podcast. But I'm actually spending the most time inside our Men of Greatness community. We built that on School, the platform of School. It's school.com/men-of-greatness. Um, as much as I poo-pooed the idea of digital connection, I was finding myself just coming in contact with so many guys across the country. I just felt like, okay, if we have a home base that we can start with, I think that's a good place to start. So that's where I'm spending the most time, is inside that community, and then publishing a lot of stuff on YouTube. I have a podcast, which you're going to be on soon. I can't wait. I know we had to reschedule. So yeah, those are the places that I spend the most time.
Wonderful. Guys, if you got some value from this episode, share with a friend, send it around, and we'll see you next time.